Asymmetrical warfare is one of the most important tenets of self-defense. Basically, it means never engaging in a fair fight. And for us, that means carrying a weapon. Now, the best weapon you can carry is of course going to be a gun, or a knife, or even a tactical pen. But let's say you don't have hundreds or even 50s of dollars to spend on your self-defense tool. First of all, get better about saving money. But second of all, don't worry, because I took it upon myself to get 6 weapons under $20 from Amazon. And today, we're gonna rate them based on how good or how bad they really are. Actually, I technically got 7 weapons under $20, but one of them broke almost as soon as I started using it, so that one failed. Now, before we talk about the individual weapons on this list, let's establish what defines a good versus a bad self-defense tool. The first thing we have to know is how easy is it to use this weapon? Is it easily trainable, or do I have to spend years and years getting good at it before I can learn to rely on it? The second question we have to ask is, how convenient is this thing to carry around? Can you hide it on your body? Can you put it in a backpack? Can you wear it? If those answers are no, then it's not a convenient tool to carry around and you're not going to carry it. So with all that out of the way, let's talk about what I think is the most common self-defense tool under $20, the pocket stick or the kubaton. Essentially, the kubaton is a training knife. It has a sharp but not entirely bladed point and a flat end on the other where you can comfortably rest your hand or use your thumb to help jam it. It's basically a force multiplier for your punches. So if we're doing something like throwing a jab, we can allow the hand to roll and come back with a hammer fist, driving the tip of the kubaton, or the pocket stick, whatever you want to call it, into whoever's trying to attack us. Now, what I like about the kubaton is that you can use it to keep your attacker away from you with flicking strikes, or if you're in the close range, you can grab tight and dig this in and wrench across the skin. Whichever way works, but remember, this is not a pointed edge. It'll hurt, but it won't rip anything. So if you're looking to do as minimal damage as possible, this is a decent option. But there's nothing a kubaton does that something like a tactical pen, like the Atomic Bear Pro, doesn't do better. And I don't know if you know this, it has the benefit of being a pen. Also, this is a side tangent, but an important one. I like being able to fidget around with my kubaton, but having a key ring on it seems useful, but it isn't. Because if you're carrying multiple things on your keychain, good luck getting to the kubaton when you actually need it. And if you're not gonna carry it on a keychain, then what is this ring for? Moving on. Do you see that? Are you making out what that is? Those are Wolverine claws. This next weapon is only on the list because I think it's ridiculous that it even exists and that I can legally buy it. It has a name. It is a toy ballistic dart gun, but this is a ballistic knife. What is a ballistic knife? Let me demonstrate. Woo! Look at that grouping. It comes with this little safety cap right here, which you pull off, then you take the guard and pull it all the way down, and now you push down on these buttons to shoot one of the 3 claws at your bad guy. Now, I live in Texas, so I can get away with owning as many of these as I want. Whether I can carry one around in public is a different question, but I know I can buy them easily. Your results may vary. This is not a toy. This is not even a self-defense tool. Actually, you know what? This is a toy. This is something you get to play with. If you're carrying this thing around and you think you're might maybe need to use it, you're the bad guy. Self-defense tools under $20 are fun and they're gimmicky, but they're not always legal and they're not always useful for actually protecting yourself. If I can keep him at bay, if I can threaten him with this, what was the situation where I was able to get to my weapon, pull it out and point it that I couldn't have just excused myself from in the first place? Not to mention, once you've shot all 3 of the darts, you're pretty much spent. This thing, while heavy, doesn't make for much of a reinforcement tool, and it doesn't have any other functions but shooting those 3 darts. I don't like other weapons on this list. I really like the ballistic knife, but I can't in good conscience recommend it to anybody. The next weapon I want to talk about is another very common tool that's handed out at self-defense seminars. It is the personal defense keychain. This thing is pretty straightforward. First of all, it has a flashlight on it, which is not the worst thing of all time. You can see it's pretty bright. Not an O-light, but it'll do. But what's really fancy about it is if you take this little pin and pull it out grenade style, sound warning for those of you that are sensitive, it will make a really loud, piercing noise that will ideally, oh, the dogs didn't like that at all. I'm sorry. This noise will ideally alert other people around you that you're in danger, or if you put it close enough, don't worry, I'm not gonna do it again. If you put it close enough to the person attacking you, hurt their ears enough to where they stop and retreat. For fighting with the personal alarm, you can't. It fits snugly in the palm of your hand, so it shouldn't interrupt you too much if you're fighting with somebody, but you can't use it as a way to hit somebody. Unless you give them the old bop, which then risks the pin coming out and making a loud noise, so maybe that's the way to use it. This is an okay pre-self-defense tool. When you think you might be in danger, but you're not being hurt yet, this is a good tool for that. But if somebody's already laying hands on you, you have to be very lucky before you get a chance to use it. Now, most of these weapons sit on the lower end of my recommended list. They're decent for the price, I guess, but have plenty of issues that keep them from being truly recommendable. But now, let's talk about a weapon that not only I think passes the test, but might have become one of my favorite self-defense tools. I'm talking about the self-defense key, or as I like to call it, the violent screwdriver. As the name implies, it is a screwdriver, it has a Phillips head at the end of it, that has a key handle at the end, which allows it to sit in between your fingers to enhance your striking. You keep it in between your fingers like this, and as your attacker tries to hit you, boom, you stab them here, or around the side here like this. If you want to come in and dig it around the side, you can. When I'm carrying something like a kubaton, I have to modify the way I throw my jab. Instead of it coming straight out, I go out around the side like I'm throwing a hammer fist, or coming down like I'm doing a karate chop. It's similar, but not really the way I traditionally throw my strikes. Something like this, however, can sit in between my fingers. I can be comfortable with it and jab from far away the exact same way I do every single day. So the violent screwdriver or the mock push dagger, whatever you want to call it, this is probably my new favorite weapon. I recommend carrying it around not just for self-defense, but because it's a useful tool to have on your person. Self-defense shoe, deal with it. Let's say we're here fighting our opponent off with our hands and it's just not getting the job done. So we decide to break out the big guns and then, boom, there comes the head kick. Now, in Muay Thai, we're taught to use the shin to make contact with our opponent. But now we're wearing shoes that have spikes on those shoes, so we can do just as much, if not more damage by kicking with the instep of our foot. So instead of just driving the shin into our opponent, we can now be a little bit farther back and use the spike to hopefully knock them to the ground with serious consequences. But the reality is, I don't recommend throwing head kicks in a self-defense situation. They're fun to do in training, and you can do them in fights for a spectacular finish, but relying on them for self-defense is kind of a gamble. However, we can lower the kick to instead target the ribs and drive it in here, still get just as much out of it, or, as I'm sure these spikes were really designed, to go upwards with a rising front kick. Instead of going upwards with the toe or the ball of the foot like we're traditionally taught, you let the foot flex and drive the spike upwards, hopefully where the sun don't shine. So our two realistic options are roundhouse kick with the instep or rising front kick, again with the instep. Now this is a cool thing to play with on Bob, but I want to see how these spikes hold up against something that breaks. Let's go get some fruit. So the way it's gonna work, I'm gonna hold it here. Okay. And you're gonna up kick, try to hit those, let me put your foot right there. You're gonna try to drive these here. Yeah. So it can't be like a bah.
Right. It's not a teep,
it's got a boom, yeah. Like the way we yell at you to not kick.
Yeah.
So
the Krav Maga kick.
Yeah, Krav Maga kick. Right up into the watermelon. Not my melons.
Your melons.
Not my melons. Okay, ready?
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Straight through.
I can't tell though if that's just the power of my kick. Oh no, there's little teeth.
That's where she hit right there, little teeth. Beautiful. Now this next tool looks like a cross between a kubaton and a tactical pen, while also being better than both of them. This is the pain pen, and it can deliver supposedly 25 million volts. So the way it works, the pain pen has these little buttons right here that lets you know if it's charged or not. If it's not, you can plug it in via USB, and then you'll flip the safety up to allow you to then deliver pain. Push the button and boom, there's your personal taser. Being hit with this is terrifying, not to mention extremely painful. And it doesn't require a lot of effort to learn how to use it. The main thing I dislike about this thing is that the button is on the side, meaning I have to hold it like a magic wand before I actually get to use it. I'd prefer if the button was on top so I could use this like a kubaton and as I'm striking, turn on the taser function. But this will work just as well as long as you remember where the button is and keep your finger on it at all times. You are allowed to shock me anywhere on my arms.
Okay.
I'm gonna close my eyes. and I want to see if that shock hurts enough to make me drop this watermelon.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
I'm gonna close my eyes. Don't tell me when you're gonna do it.
Anywhere on either
Has
arm.
to be on my arms. Don't do the shirt because it will burn my shirt.
Okay.
Cool. So the pain pen makes it pretty high up on my recommended list. You really need to know what you're doing with it and be careful with how you train with it, but it is a very useful tool if you know how to use it. It came in at $19.99, which is just underneath the limit of our challenge, but I think it's definitely worth the money. So that was my 6, what was supposed to be 7, Amazon self-defense products under $20. Some of them are well worth the money, others not so much. But what do you guys think? Should we be spending more money on our self-defense tools, or are more budget-friendly options the right way to go? I'd love to know your thoughts. As always, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to turn on notifications, and I'll see you guys next time. Violent Screw!